Over 290 people, by the way, in the last 90 days. Dorina went and researched and she looked how many calendar appointments I've had. In the last 90 days, I've talked to 290 people, all entrepreneurs, and they all pointed out three major problems. The biggest problems that they're facing in this market, I'm going to reveal what they are today for you. And most of these entrepreneurs are also investors. So they have businesses and they're investing in real estate, and they all have the same problems. So you may actually relate to one of these, or maybe all three. The first is not enough clients. Most of the entrepreneurs that I've been speaking with are struggling with having enough clients for their business, which then leads to obviously a cash flow problem, leads to not having enough money to invest in real estate, not having enough money to invest in other things. The second problem that they've been facing is stress, overwhelm. Just having not knowing what to do is one of the causes, but the result is the fact they're stressed. They're doing a lot. They're spending more time seeking out answers, seeking out activities, obviously seeking clients, and not spending enough time with their families. So there's a lot of stress and anxiety on these calls. And the third thing I've noticed is that they have hope, which is different from certainty. Certainty that it will get better is strong manifesting, but hope that it could get better. Hope is kind of a beggar. Hope is like, please, sir, is there an answer in you that could change the magical problems that I'm facing in my life? I need the magical elixir, the alchemical process that would help me and my business get out of this trauma that I'm in right now, where I don't have enough clients and I don't feel worthy of my family because I'm so stressed. And the answer is yes. We're going to dive into that today. Welcome back, Alchemists. This is the 52 Weeks to Wealth with myself, Walter Morello, and each one of you who's been on this journey for now 26 weeks. This, by the way, 52 Wealth Principles is for one reason. We're showing up consistently because we want to double our income and double our net worth. Show of hands if that's true for you. You're still on the mission. Excellent. There's one more thing that we ask for everybody who comes through this free coaching training is that we're on a mission to build 100 millionaires, and we'd like to ask each one of you to, when you get yours, build 100 millionaires as well. Show of hands if you still commit to building 100 millionaires. Excellent. Give yourselves a round of applause. I love that. We're also in an industry that allows us to do it. We're all real estate professionals. We're real estate investors as well. And it is the #1 business industry that has built millionaires. In fact, 90% of all millionaires hold their wealth in real estate. So one more time, give yourselves a round of applause for being smart, for being here, for showing up. Now, this is the 5th year of the 52 Weeks to Wealth. And I was telling Dorina yesterday that I spoke in Atlanta, I spoke in Gainesville, I spoke in Jacksonville, I spoke in Daytona, I spoke in where I just come back from North Carolina, and I had spoken in one other place. I spoke in Brandon, I spoke in Tampa, and there's one other place that I traveled to. I can't think of it right now. Orlando. It wasn't too far of a travel. And after all of the speaking that I've done, after all the people I spoke to and talked to, I came down to this awareness at North Carolina. It was the first time I can actually say this, and I messed up the opportunity. Over the last 4 years, I used to say, for this whole beginning of the year, I said, we built 30 millionaires over the last 4 years. Show of hands if you've heard me say that, 30 millionaires over the last 4 years. Well, this past Tuesday, we have our 31st millionaire. Ken Ingram is now somebody we've built $1 million with. So let's give Ken Ingram a big round of applause. So it's 31 millionaires in the last 4 years. And I like to speed that up. So if you've ever been on one of my 15-minute calls, here's one of the things that I've learned. Now, Ken has paid me a lot of money for coaching and for masterminds, for a lot of the things that we've done. But some of our millionaires haven't paid me much. They haven't paid me much, or they haven't paid me anything. And some millionaires who we haven't quite tracked yet have become millionaires from one conversation with me, from one 15-minute conversation with me. In fact, I have a family, a couple, who 6 years ago, I had one conversation with them at an event. We exchanged numbers and we hadn't talked for 4 years. Then 4 years later, they came up to me and they said, because of that conversation, we're now financially free. We're now millionaires. So sometimes a single conversation with somebody who knows the path can help your life get to the next level. So hopefully today is your day, but if it's not, maybe it's next week. Show of hands if you understand. Keep coming back. The solutions are in these calls. So today's wealth principle is number 26. For those of you who don't know, Alchemist Nation's mission is to create financial freedom for all. We just happen to do it through building millionaires. $1 million, $1 million net worth is easy to make a passive income of 120,000. Show of hands if you agree. If you had $1 million sitting there, it'd be a lot easier to just get that passive income out of it. Perfect. So that's why we use that metric. That's why we use this. We don't really care so much about the millionaires status as it's a KPI for how good we're doing at what we do. Show of hands if we understand that. It's a KPI, which is a key production indicator. Now, Wealth Principle 26 is study the business and people that are performing in the way you want your business to perform. Many people have said, gurus have said to you, don't look at your competition. Don't look about them. Don't think about them. Don't be in the space. There's no such thing as competition. Anyway, people who are killers just focus on doing what they're doing and they do really good. Show of hands if you've heard of this before, this philosophy of don't look at anybody else. Well, let me tell you about billionaires. Billionaires are absolutely freaking obsessed with their competition. In fact, billionaires think other things that we wouldn't even conceive or perceive are their competition are their competition. In fact, there was a conversation that Gary Vee had it with the Budweiser company. He went to work for them for a little while. Who here knows who Gary Vee is? Show of hands if you're familiar with Gary Vee. You can drop it in the chat. GV, right? Gary Vaynerchuk. So the guy who's always talking about marketing and strategies, he goes and he works for Budweiser for a little while in this little consulting role. And he asks them, who is your avatar? Because obviously every company has a type of customer. And they explain, people who drink beer, right? People who drink things. And he says, okay, well, who's the competition? And they start listing off. And by the way, show of hands if you'd think it'd be like Anheuser-Busch, it'd be all of these other companies, Coors, Miller, Sam Adams, like these would be the companies. So they say Poland Springs, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, these major companies that are not related to beer. And they're listing them all off, Gatorade, right? And he's thinking, he's like, oh my God, I've never considered that what they ultimate lesson is they fight for the throat. Like that's literally how they define what their competition is. Anything that goes down your throat in liquid form is their competition. So fans, if you understand, they're thinking at a different level. They're competing with people outside of their even industry. They're obsessed with how do these people get access to the throat. Now, for us as business owners, we don't care so much about the throat, but we do care a lot about the eyes. We care about the feed. We care about what people are looking at. Social media is a feed-based business. So social media, show of hands if you have that, if you got one of those. Show of hands if you got the device that it's all operating off of now. It's not so much desktop anymore. We got one of these. All right, so entrepreneurs, you today are mostly focused on the feed. You're focused on how can I get in front of them again? How can I get in front of their cell phone again? Maybe you're not looking at the feed itself, but you're looking at the cell phone, the screen time. That is one of the major things you compete for. And now when we think about competition, who are we competing against? Cats, cat videos. God damn, that's tough. You're competing against Brian Kent. You're competing against coaches, right? You're competing against realtors with their fancy, sexy houses and their air drones. You're competing against the TikToker who's dancing, dancing and teaching. The person who's doing this and pointing out bubbles on the screen. Show fans who've seen the competition. You know what you're talking about. And you know what I'm talking about. Awesome. Excellent. So we're going to talk about how to compete in this world as real estate investors and as business owners, as entrepreneurs. By the way, show of hands if you're an entrepreneur looking for more business. Excellent. So marketing is important. If we're looking for more business, marketing is important. We're going to talk a little bit about how our competition markets so we can learn to be better. And number two, show of hands if you're in sales. If you have to sell. Excellent. So we're going to talk a little bit about the sales process, the process of selling, which, by the way, it is a process. Show of hands if you agree. Sales don't just happen because people like you. They happen because you ask certain questions, you walk them through certain steps, you give them certain teasers or certain information or brochures, or maybe you walk them through houses. You do a thing, you educate, you inspire, you empower, and you bring them through a process. So we're going to talk about how to model what other successful companies are doing, maybe in your industry, maybe outside of your industry. Show of hands if you can learn things from outside of your industry as well. Awesome. Excellent. So the biggest problem that entrepreneurs have in the competing with others is they try to go after a competitor who's smaller than them. Modeling somebody smaller than you or modeling somebody who's less successful than you in the space that you're looking to model is not a good solution. If you look at a top agent who's selling a ton of business, by the way, anybody know a real estate agent in here? Anybody know a realtor? Okay, we should all know realtors, right? So knowing a top agent, somebody who's like really crushing the selling game, and they're get tons and tons of business, but their business is all from referrals. You go onto their social media, you see they've like posted 3 things in a month. And all their business comes from cell phones. This is an older realtor who's focused on the cell phone. That's where all the business comes from. You wouldn't model their social media account. Show of hands if that makes sense. They're not a beast in the social media. They're not nailing that game. But on the other hand, somebody who 100% builds all of their audience from social media and they don't do referrals whatsoever, and all their business comes from social media, that would be a good person to model for social media driving traffic. But if they aren't realtor, maybe they're a mortgage broker, maybe they're an attorney, maybe they're a financial planner. But if they're getting the attention of the same exact customer that you want to get attention from, show of hands if it's okay to leverage that knowledge. Yes. Awesome. So step one is modeling success. So first we have to identify the type of success we would like to increase in our business. Again, Wealth Principle 26 is study the people and businesses. So study the people and businesses that are performing the way you want your business to perform. So these people must be performing in the area you're about to study at a significantly improved level, not the same level as you. Show of hands, we agree. We're aiming to increase our income, improve the amount of streams that we have. So we must obsess through observation and modeling another person's improved area. So by studying the habits and practices and strategies of high-performing individuals in business, you can identify key factors that contribute to their success. Emulating their approach, adapting their methodologies, and integrating their best practices into your business gives you the same results as long as you put out the same amount of action. Show of hands if you agree. I'll say that one more time. Modeling their methodologies, emulating their approaches, modeling their methodologies, and integrating their best practices will give you the ability to scale your business dependent upon how much action you throw through that system. So what is modeling? An example of modeling would be if I were to look at, let me find somebody on the call who's a good example. I believe that Gary Aker runs the best, absolute best events in Alchemist Nation. So I know that because I've traveled and I've seen more Alchemist Nation events than any other human being on the planet. Show of hands if that's a cool thing that I can say. I just realized that just now. I truly have seen in person more Alchemist Nation events than any other human being in the history of Alchemist Nation existence. And I've been in person and I've seen them and I love going to them. I'm obsessed with figuring out what's going on. Now, Gary's events run better than anybody else's, but this week I was out in North Carolina and I do believe that Stephanie Bell and her event run really effing close. Like really, really, really close to what Gary does in Tampa. Now, obviously, when I was at Stephanie's event, she had like 45 people there, and many of them were new, and it was a very exciting event to be in. So what did I have to do? I had to figure out what is it that she does that drew all these people in, and what is it that she does that makes them all say, "What is Alchemist Nation?" Well, one, she had branding at the front door. So they knew to ask what Alchemist Nation was. She was using the check-ins, same check-in that Gary uses. So she's using a QR code. They had to pull it up on their phone. So they saw Alchemist Nation right at the top. So branding twice. This is something that great companies do. The branding is in multiple places, in multiple spots. We were wearing Alchemist Nation shirts. So branding is now third level. So branding, they're seeing it over. So now they're asking, what is this? And so when Stephanie spoke, she said, "Does anybody wonder what Alchemist Nation is?" And they were like, "Yeah, we're kind of wondering what this is." We set the context, we set the question, we set it out there. She had sponsors. She had sponsors who paid for pizza, which was super cool. And we celebrated our sponsors. And that was one more thing that Gary does very well in Tampa. He celebrates his sponsors. So now going from multiple different events, seeing the differences, I can now put together and say, wow, every leader in this community should now put the banner out, make sure they use the QR code, make sure they wear an Alchemist shirt, make sure they celebrate their sponsors. Those are things that I can model in every other event. I've seen the same, by the way. Michelle Young just jumped in, so I have to brag about her event in Gainesville. She does the same exact thing. Very consistent and somebody that I would model. Show of hands, we grasp what modeling is now. We understand that we can look at a person, see what they've done well, and take those into ourselves, take that in as part of our system. Excellent. Number two is gaining perspective. So by observing successful counterparts like other people's events. And by the way, I've learned a lot from the Rias. I've learned a lot from Grant Cardone. I've learned a lot from Russell Brunson, going to ClickFunnels, going to 10X events, going all across the country to other people's events, Success Resources, Peak Potentials, and Tony Robbins, going to Rich Dad Poor Dad, all of the different competitors that we have in the space. I won't call them competitors. I'll call them business partners, people who are educating people. By the way, who's been overcharged by another company? 30,000 in coaching, heard the stories, right? 50,000 in coaching, 20,000 in coaching, 30,000 in coaching. I'm not going to say we compete. I'm just going to say I clean up the mess. That's what Alchemization is very good at. When somebody's overpaid for somebody else's program, they come to us and they're like, okay, like, how do I get my life? How do I pay off all these credit cards? Anybody ever have credit cards before from a coaching program that you paid for? I'm not going to say you overpaid. Let me take that back. These are wonderful companies, and I spent 150,000 in my personal development with these companies, and I gained a lot. I gained a lot of perspective. So perspective, gaining perspective, observing, this is number two, gaining perspective and observing successful counterparts provides invaluable perspective and inspiration. By understanding the journeys, the challenges, and the triumphs of others, you can gain clarity on your own path, identifying areas for improvement, and refine your strategies for success. So, what I just basically said is go buy their products. Go out and purchase from the competition. Go pay the competition, go through their process, and see how it makes you feel, right? How do you feel when you came out? Some of the programs I went through, I felt like, holy shit, I just got bent over a barrel and I'm not happy about it at all. Other programs, I was like, wow, I need to implement this. I feel loved. I feel like given all the information that I needed. I got the resource, I got the tools, I got the things, I got the connections that I needed. So I got experience, I got perspective. So, fans, if you should purchase from other people, you should purchase from your competitors. I think you should. It gives you a true perspective because if you're trying to build your sales system and your process in your company and you've never paid for it by somebody else, you don't know if you're doing it better or not. You don't know if you're truly improving. There's a book, Sam Walton. I used to work at Walmart, and one of the things that he used to make us do when he was alive when I worked there, he used to make us go into other stores with a little scanny barcode, and he would have us look at the other store. I was in the toy department, so I had to go to Toys R Us, my direct competitor, and I'd sneak in as a Walmart associate. I'd sneak in without the badge on, without the smock on, and I would go in. I have this little scanner, a little pocket scanner in my hand. I could go and look at a product. I could scan the QR code. I could type the price that they had. But my other job wasn't just price comping. I would also look for the displays. I'd look at how things made me feel. I was trained by Sam Walton to go in and think about how I felt as a customer, as a consumer. I was trained to watch the customers in the store and see how they reacted. Now, my job was toys, so I had to watch not only the parents, but the children. What were their eyes doing in somebody else's department, somebody else's store? And my job, I was trained, my job was to perceive and create a different level of understanding. So when somebody came through a Walmart, my toy department felt better than when they walked through a Toys R Us. When somebody came through my Walmart, my toy department should feel better than Toy Works, which, by the way, Walmart destroyed both companies. And me, as a part of Toys at that time, and even over the years, I always felt like I contributed to that on some level by just being better, by making sure my toy department was better than anybody else's. Now, did I really contribute? Probably not. But the point is, I played at that level. I was obsessed with the law. I was obsessed with the rules. I knew this guy was a billionaire. I knew he created the greatest company on the planet. And I just wanted to learn from him. I wanted to model from him his success. And what I'm suggesting to you is in order to really get perspective, go in and leverage other people's services that are in line with what you're selling, in line with what you're doing. So how do we do it? So one, we identify road models. So strategies we can do. Identify the road model. So we're going to do a really quick exercise, and I want you to visualize. You can pull out a pen and paper. I want you to visualize where your business is weakest right now. Weakest point, the point where you're not doing well. In real estate, it could be deals, money, labor, and in business, it's clients, income, capital, and operations, production. So deals, money, labor, it's the same exact thing. So I want you to visualize where you're weakest, because we're always weak in one. Like we're always strong in two, we're always weak in one. There's always one that ends up being the lower part for us and caps us out. So identify role models who are crushing it in that area. You don't have to fix all of your business. I just want you to fix the weak one. Just the one that's slowing you down, just the one that's stopping you right now from getting to the next level. If you're a real estate investor and you're saying, man, I ran out of money. Okay, who has a bunch of capital? Who's somebody who doesn't have a capital issue? They have maybe it's a deal flow issue, or they have a an operations issue. They can't buy more because they can't find help, right? So look for those people. Write that down. Write down the list of people who have that problem. First, write down the problem that you have, the biggest problem in your company. If you're an entrepreneur and you're having a hard time with marketing, okay, write that down. If you're an entrepreneur having a hard time with sales, okay, write that down. If you're an entrepreneur and sales, by the way, and marketing, the difference is marketing is new customers or new access to customers. Sales is closing them. It's bringing those customers into your operations. And then if you don't have enough people to service all the customers and clients that you're closing, then that would be an operations problem. So write down the one that you're having the biggest problem with. And then step two to this is identify role models who crush it in that game. Identify one or two role models who are absolutely slaying it in what you're weakest in. Absolutely slaying it in what you're weakest in. Write those down really quickly. You got like 30 seconds to do that. While you're writing those down really quickly, I'm going to take a sip from 100 Millionaires Cup, which I'm very proud of owning, which apparently is also two-sided, so I can sip with my right hand now. Awesome. Everybody got something written down? Thumbs up. Cool, 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 cool. All right. Number two, we want to conduct an in-depth study. I want to conduct an in-depth study. Dive deep into, number one, their practices, methodologies, and philosophies. I want you to deep dive, write all three of these down. We want you to deep dive into their practices, their methodologies, and their philosophies. Those are three different core components that create the solution that you may be missing. Practices are things they do. Things they do. Methodologies are how they do that thing, and philosophies are why they do it. So let's say that one more time. Practices are what they do, what they are doing better than you. Methodologies are how they are doing it so they can accomplish it. And philosophies are why they do it the way they do. Philosophies are why they're doing it the way they do it. And what I will tell you is the philosophy is almost more important than the practice and the methodology, because with the philosophy, sometimes you automatically understand the methodology and the practice. The second part to an in-depth analysis is to study their business models, their marketing strategies, their customer interactions, and their operational processes to gain comprehensive understanding of their success factors. I'll say those four again. I'll say them a little bit slower. Study their business models. An example of a business model might be a real estate investor who only buys single-family homes that are 3-bed, 2-bath in Gainesville, Florida. That is a model. That is a way that they invest. The marketing strategies, study their marketing strategies, how they find those homeowners, whether it's through We Buy Houses, bandit signs, or mailers, or they skip trace the list, cold call the list, they hire a VA, or they work through wholesalers. That would be methodologies. That would be marketing strategies. Number three would be their customer interactions. What do they say when they do get in front of a customer? What are they saying? What process do they work through? For example, with Alchemist Nation, I go through a 3-call process with a human being. It's a 15-minute call, a 15-minute call, and then a 30-minute call. First call is a discovery call. The second call is a strategy call, strategy session, and the third call is a dream management call. If by the end of the dream management call, I haven't sold them something, I've taken a ton of notes on what that human being needs in the future, and I'm referring them out to somebody else. I know what to do from that point. Customer interactions. And by the way, everybody, show of hands, if you've been on a call with me. Show of hands, you felt like you got the world of value out of that call. Awesome. Give yourselves a round of applause. Customer interactions should feel amazing. It should feel like your sales process should feel like, holy shit, it was worth getting on the phone with that company. It was worth those people spending time with me. Number four, operational processes to gain a comprehensive understanding of their systems. So, what is the process they follow? What is it that they use to make sure that that whole customer interaction exists? What process is necessary to make sure the customer interaction is experienced? One of the rules I have with our community, with our business consultants, is we always book the next call. Whenever we end a call, we're booking the next call. Whenever we end a call, we're booking the next call. It's always continuous. By the way, show of hands if you got to this call because you booked a call with me at some point. Next week, I'm going to teach Wealth Principle 27. I can't wait to see you there because after one call, we always book the next call. We always increase value every single time we're on with somebody. Now, we're going to go through action steps that you can implement right now, and then we're going to have Doug walk us through a nice little meditation so that we can, although we did learn this consciously, we want to absorb it into the subconscious mind. Show of hands if you want to just put the brain to work and let this stuff happen for you. Excellent. Me too. Fortunately, that's what Doug's very good at. We are going to go over the book of the week at the end of this. And before we go into the action plan, I want to share very quickly that it is absolutely emotional seeing people crush it in life. And it's also emotional when I see people failing in life. And because it reminds me of where I was back in 2015 when I was starting out as an entrepreneur, when I was really trying to figure all this stuff out. And this principle really hits me pretty hard because I didn't know who to study under. I didn't have any mentors. I had no coaches. I had no guides. There was nobody who could really like say, yes, go do this and your business will explode. I had a whole bunch of people telling me all these different strategies, all these different things, all these different philosophies of how to become successful. And I really just, it almost brings tears to my eyes. Like I just wanted to make money. I just wanted to not suffer anymore. I just wanted to be able to pay my bills and make my family proud. Like that's all I wanted to do is just be able to support myself. And I was going through a divorce and I was losing everything that I had ever been, held dear. And I was just trying to find myself. And the reason Alchemist Nation exists is because of that pain of not knowing what to do and not really having anybody who seemed to know or cared whether I was successful or not. Even the people who were supposed to care, my broker, like the guys who they would get paid if I was successful. They didn't seem to care or have a path or really have a good understanding. They just kept telling me to go talk to everybody I know and tell them I'm in real estate. It's like, well, do you understand that I'm an introvert? Like, do you understand that I'm literally an accountant? I don't come from this talk to everybody. And by the way, my family's broke. Like nobody in my family is doing business. None of them are buying houses. So I need something better than that. And nobody had a solution. And I had to dig and I had to put money on credit cards. And I did so many things I'm embarrassed to say I did. And I struggled. I struggled through it. And year one, I made $17,000. The same year I went through the divorce, I made $17,000. The second year, I found some mentors. I found some coaches. I found people who actually cared about my success. And I formed 5 masterminds. I did form quite a few masterminds. And as I was going through them, I made 90,000 that year as an agent, and I made an extra 25,000 as an investor. So I made 115,000. It was the first time I'd ever broken 6 figures because before that I was a $40,000 a year person. I had, a mental barrier. Most of the calls that I do with individuals, I walk through the financial blueprint. I explain, where I was, and I explain how you can get out of a rut of making the same amount of money or descending channel or just only going up a little bit with inflation, how you can get those big swings of income. And it was stressful, right? It was scary. It was a tough time. And if I hadn't figured it out, I know I had moments of a thing I should just give up, just entirely just end it. There's no point in going on anymore because I can't help myself. I can't help other people. And I was raised to be a servant, right? I was raised to be a servant of God. Like that's what I was trained to do. And I couldn't serve anybody. I couldn't help anybody. I felt useless. I was worth less than I was born with. And Darina tells me that I'm supposed to tell this story every so often because I'd like to forget it. But if I don't go back and share where I came from, then somebody who's in it right now might think that I'm just a rich guy who did really good and always was like that, and that it wouldn't be possible for them. So I share the story because if you're in a place where it's tough or you're not sure what to do or you're not aware of the answers or solutions, I promise we have them because that's what I've spent the last decade building and documenting. And Alchemist Station is designed to make sure that you have all the tools you need. We don't charge for most of what we do. And there's a 3-step process. If you go to alchemistnation.com, it works really damn well. There's a 3-step process that helps people become financially free, that helps people find their business, find their clients. This Wednesday, based on the almost 300 conversations I've had in the last 90 days with entrepreneurs, all of you included, I'm going to be running a webinar that is all about marketing. It is a marketing bootcamp that I believe is really in tune with Alchemist Nation, where each of you are at right now. And I'm gearing it towards, it'll probably be 90 minutes at 5 o'clock. Thank you, Connie, and thank you for being vulnerable. So I will be teaching a marketing webinar at 5 on Wednesday, and likely the next week I'll be teaching a sales webinar at the same time, 5 on Wednesday. And the reason I'm doing that is because it's what got me out of the suffering and the pain was I understood marketing. Once I learned marketing, I made a commitment to market for everybody. All my friends know that they can rely on me to market, right? It's what I do. It's what Alchemist Nation is designed to do, right? 31 locations across the country, marketing and helping entrepreneurs get to the next level. So I will teach you if you're interested. It's free. I'm not charging for it. It is a webinar that I do so that after I do it, maybe you'll go be successful and teach somebody else. Show of hands if you're okay, if that is what I require. Awesome. Excellent. So that's Wednesday at 5, and I'll be pouring in. Please bring a pen and paper because I will be speaking fast. I'm speaking slow right now. I will not be speaking this slow. I'm going to pour a lot of information because it's a singular system without deviations. You cannot make mistakes in this thing. It's a simple process, but it is important that no steps are missed. And I'll walk you through it and I'll teach how to do it. I will have a Q&A session at the end. I'll stay on as late as you guys need. I have nothing going on Wednesday night except for Dorina afterwards. So Wednesday at 5. Dorina, what is the link for that? Yeah, define slow. Yeah, this would be slow for me. Go ahead, Dorina. What is the link?
Oh, it's super easy. It's marketing.alchemistation.com.
No way. We own that domain?
Yes,
When did that
and
happen?
Mark made it happen
Holy
just
shit.
now.
Okay, so everybody understands. So each of you understand. I told Dorina this morning, she was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "I think I know what the community needs. I think that they're struggling with marketing." And I said, I really want to do a marketing course just to make sure I've got that off my chest. So I could say, like, I've taught the best of what I've got. And she was like, okay, when do you want to do it? I said, well, I'd love to do it Wednesday, but can we get any of that together in time? And she's like, I'll get it done. I thought I was going to get some long ass Zoom link. So marketing.alchemistation.com. Let's give Doreen a big round of applause. Love you. Thank you. Makes it super easy to say it. All right. So marketing Friday, I'm going to kick ass, take names. This, before we get into the hypnosis with Doug, guided meditation, the hypnosis to force your brain to do this thing where you go and develop yourself. I want to do the book of the week. Now we have Michael Shine is our keeper of the books. Where's Michael? There he is. Let's give Michael Shine a round of applause. Every week we have a book of the week. And the reason we do these books of the week is because the average person reads one book a year. And I don't want you to be average. I want you to be exceptional. And so Grant Cardone said the average person reads one book a year and they don't even finish that book. Well, what we do here in Alchemist Nation, we read one book a week, which gives you a 52-to-1 advantage over every other entrepreneur, every other investor, every other business owner. So me and Michael, we looked at the 52 wealth principles. We evaluated each one of them and said, what book makes the most sense to go with all of these books? And we've had these books for years. Me and Mike every so often make adjustments. And over the past couple of weeks, I actually texted Mike. I said, Mike, I really want to change this book. I really want to change 26. I really want to change 26. I really want to change 26. And he was like, and I was like, I really want to put this book into 26. And he was like, okay, but I haven't read it yet. But either way, let's give Michael Shine, the holistic attorney, the keeper of the books, the closer, a big round of applause. Mike
Thanks,
Shine,
Walter.
what
So
is the book of the
Walter
week?
basically gave me the week off because he at the last minute threw me a curveball and said, "Hey, Brian Kent is part of this community, and Brian Kent wrote a really great book, and we should put this book in as this one." I said, "Well, that's wonderful. I'm happy to introduce Brian. I mean, I've met him a couple of times at the summit and at Dorina's baby shower, but I haven't read the book and I don't know Brian that well. But so wouldn't it be better if Brian just talks about his own book and Walter agreed with me wholeheartedly that it would be better for Brian to discuss his own book. So I am off for the week. I am going to enjoy my coffee, and I'm going to listen to Brian, the author of the book, The K Factor, R Factor, sorry,
R Factor.
R Factor. And I present to you Brian Kent.
Let's give Michael Shine a round of applause. Brian Kent, everyone, the author of the book, The R Factor.
Okay, so Galter caught me off guard with that. I wasn't expecting to do that, but I appreciate it. Anyway, some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm a serial entrepreneur. What created this book was when I started consulting a couple of years ago, several of my clients said, hey, you've got to get all of this written down. The focus areas of the book are: one, are you hiring the right people? Right? Two, are you holding people accountable and setting goals? Three, do you have the relationships with everybody in your company to make sure the company can scale? So as we're looking at relationships and business and role models and why, know why you're doing something you're doing, work with your team to build it, and build the strategy with goals that you can hold everybody accountable so the company can scale. The R factor, relationship management.
Let's give Brian Kent, the author of the book, The R Factor, a big round of applause. That is pretty cool to me. I will say chapter 5 is where I have been struggling. Now, Brian is also on the board of advisors for Alchemist Nation. So I sit down with him and Vinny Chopra once a month, and we sit down and we look at where's Alchemist Nation, where are we going, how do we get to the next level? And one of those particular calls, Brian just looked at me and said, it's chapter 5, Walter. Go read chapter 5. So I did. And I obsessed over chapter 5. So if you're having an issue with leadership in your business and scaling up and putting the right people in place, chapter 5 was really, you'll see in Alchemist Nation as we explode and we really have major impact across this country. It's because we've learned to put the right people in the right seats, or as Brian likes to say, the right butts in the right seats, which, by the way, was almost the name of the book. We almost named the book Butts in Seats, or Right Butts in the Right Seat. But the R Factor was way cooler. One more time, let's give Michael Shine, the keeper of the books, and Brian Kent, the author of the book, a big round of applause. Now, the principle this week, again, if you're just logging in, is principle 26, which is to study the people and businesses that are performing the way you want your business to perform. Now, in order to make this automatic, imagine you're just in a store, you're just on a webinar, you're just surfing the internet, and you're just kind of going through your life. And sometimes you see competitors and you're like, okay, I should study them, but then you don't. In order to make this automatic, so you actually enjoy studying the competition, enjoy improving your systems, enjoy getting yourself to the next level just by genuinely being interested in what other companies are doing, which, by the way, when you read Ken's book, you're going to realize that's really what he does as well. He just pulled from the best of the best in the industry and said, this is how the system should go. Wouldn't that be a lot easier if you just automatically loved improving your business? All right. Well, I can't make any guarantees, but here's what Doug is going to do for us. Doug, he trained with Tony Robbins. He helped all of his coaches. So Tony was a coach for Tony Robbins for 3 years. He was speaking at agencies. He was speaking for real estate investors. He was jumping into brokerages and training them on how to increase their sales, increase their marketing, increase their impact, and increase their energy level. So they were doing the right things. Doug is also a trained and certified hypnotist. And so he's going to now, if we give him the authority and the right, he's going to now get into your subconscious mind and massage it a little bit so that you are now obsessed with doing things the right way and making sure that you're seeing all of the right things that your competition is doing and just automatically modeling it and putting it into your system. Show fans, we have permission to go deep. Excellent. So for anybody who's driving, please continue driving. You can go back and you can watch the recording later. And if you find that these hypnosis sessions or these guided meditation sessions are really helpful for you, you can always come back and watch them later. They happen around 40 minutes within each one of these calls. So without further ado, let's give Doug, the Maximizer McGurk, a big round of applause.
Very nice, very nice. Thank you. And let's give Walter and team a hand. Very nice, very nice. And you all for being here. You're investing your most valuable asset, and that is your time. So you are truly badass, aren't you? And by the way, if we're really honest, how many of y'all, if we're talking about relationships, how many of y'all, if we're honest, have enough voices in our head, we could have group therapy? Right. I mean, they're just going on. And what this conversation around this guided hypnotation and all that is to align all of those voices, all those conversations, because that's your other than conscious. That's really what's driving the bus. Because how many of y'all go, oh, I'm going to do it. And then you don't, because maybe there was a little voice that said something, and it's not even always your voice. It's your voice repeating something that maybe someone had said in the past that was not encouraging, or you were modeling someone's failures rather than their success. Perhaps you were modeling someone's philosophy of not taking action, right? Because, like I have never failed playing water polo because I've never played water polo. And there's some people who maybe will say, well, I will not fail at real estate, so I won't get into it. I will not fail at my business, so I won't do it. Therefore, I won't fail and I won't look bad. So is it okay if we dive into our other than conscious now and start aligning some of that to start modeling the success rather than the failure? Would that be okay? Sweet. So let's first by starting and seeing if you can hear the music. All right. Lovely. So why don't you go ahead and take a nice, big, deep cleansing breath in and relax. Why don't you go ahead and take another nice, big, deep cleansing breath in and roll your eyes up to the back of your head till you feel a little strain. And relax, letting go of any stress, anxiety. And take one more deep cleansing breath in, and as you do so, tense every muscle in your body. Tense them up, tense them up. Tense your legs, tense your stomach, tense your arms, tense your face. Tense it up, tense it up, tense it up. And relax, allowing all stress to fall away. And as you relax into this moment, allowing the currents of your breath to carry you deeper into a state of calm, a state of focus. And envision yourself as the master observer, the strategist at the helm of a great ship, navigating the vast ocean of commerce, business, and real estate. And as you sail these waters, you see other ships, your competitors, each uniquely designed, each with its own set of sails, catching the wind in different ways. Observe them. What colors do they fly? How do they harness the wind? Notice the nuances, the subtleties, the intricate designs that allow them to guide and glide effortlessly. As you study the sea as your marketplace, notice the successful maneuvers, anchor deep insights, and as you connect even more to your higher power, to God, repeat these affirmations aloud or in your head, in your mind. I am a keen observer of success. My understanding of business grows with each observation. I embody the strategies and philosophies that lead to excellence. And I wonder if you can answer these questions now. Why am I so adept at discerning successful patterns, practices, methodologies, and philosophies? How is it that I naturally embody successful and effective strategies? What allows me to align my beliefs and values with those successful models? Imagine now that you have the power to summon the captains of these ships, the champions of industry, to your deck. See them as they stand before you, an ensemble of wisdom and experience. And with a gentle nod, they begin to share their stories, their secrets, the essence of their success. As they share their models, their marketing strategies, their customer interactions, and operational processes, you feel them embedding into your nervous system and other than conscious mind, knowing that you will have access to them at any time. Their words are like a chorus, each voice a melody of strategy and savvy. They speak of beliefs that empower, values that guide, and a psychology of victory. These are the scripts they live by, the codes they use that unlock potential and prosperity. As you absorb their wisdom, you realize that you are not just learning, you are transforming. You are integrating the very essence of success into the fabric of your being. And when you're ready, take the helm once more. Your course charted with the knowledge of the seas you've traversed, with the wisdom of the captains infused in your spirit. You sail forward, confident and resolute. Return from this journey carrying the treasure of understanding, the map of successful navigation etched in your mind, ready to apply it to your own voyage towards business and real estate mastery. And as you emerge from this session, from this moment, carry with you the sense of clarity and purpose that comes from studying those who have mastered the seas before you. With each step you take in the waking world, let these lessons guide you to chart your own course to success. That's right. Come on back.
Yeah, those are usually the best part of the call. Let's give Doug McGurk a round of applause for coming back, as we're coming back for a Q&A session and being able to answer any questions. But before we do, sometimes during one of those sessions, we have thoughts that come up into our mind, things that you pulled from the recesses of your mind or the universe or divine intervention. Now may be a good time to write those down. That thing that came into your head that you said, if I just do this, or this is clarity, this is what I'm going to do, this is my action, or this is how I feel, this is why I do what I do. Write it down now, because the subconscious mind has a way of making us feel comfortable. Like, we'll remember that. It's so important. We'll remember it forever. It's obvious. Those things tend to be things that will change your life. And so your subconscious mind will automatically forget them as soon as it gets a chance. As soon as your conscious mind is no longer paying attention, they'll just wipe that away so you can stay right where you've been. So if you had something come up in your mind that was clear, it was concise, you knew it with intensity, this is exactly where you need to go, then now is the time to write that down. And so while some of you are writing, I'll give you a few seconds to write down those thoughts, put that clarity down on a piece of paper. And I would just make this a habit when you do have great thoughts, great ideas, great inspirations, moments of inspiration. We've been inspired by something, someone, an idea, or maybe something outside of you. Put it down on a piece of paper and put it where you can see it later so you can evaluate, oh, wow, that's something I thought was really clear. Is it or is it not? Let me go do the research. Let me actively dig deeper into that. So for everybody who has written that down, great job. Well done. Give yourselves a round of applause. Let's give Doug a round of applause for walking us through that session. For those of you who are not familiar with hypnosis or meditation, you may want to drink lots of water throughout the rest of the day because these tend to be a little bit emotional sometimes. And there's Geo. That's right. Awesome. So we're going to open up into Q&A session. Before we do, Dorina asked me to remind everyone that Wednesday at 5 is a one-time webinar. That is only happening one time. So it is not cyclical or something we're going to do often. It is a one-time webinar. I don't know if it's what the community will want anymore after this. Maybe I do it so well that the community is good. So be there Wednesday at 5. The link again is marketing.alchemistnation.com. And Dorina is dropping it in the chat. So now we have the link. Register now, and you won't have to worry about it. One of the things that I've heard from a lot of people over the years is, man, when was that webinar? It's like, dude, that webinar was 3 weeks ago. Fuck. Oh, I missed it. When are you doing it next? I'm not. Let that echo in your brain. I'm not. So, the marketing webinar is a one-time thing. And if marketing is one of your challenges, if it's something you'd like to get better at, then be there. I probably will cover social media on some level. I probably will cover contacting people via message, and I probably will cover leveraging other platforms to generate traffic. One topic I will also probably go into is referrals, a referral network that is efficient, no more than 12. So a very tight referral network that is guaranteed to bring in business. And I think those are 4 topics that if I get them into your head, that would be enough. If you followed even one of them and you followed all the way through, you do okay. But if you follow the 4, the way I structure it, and put every one of those 4 into place, you will have more business than you know what to do with. And then you'll need next week's webinar, which will be on sales. Show fans, those are good problems. I like to create good problems for people, but I will tell you, I'm known for creating problems. And fortunately, I've surrounded myself with a great team who's good at solving those problems. So marketing is my baby. It's my jam. I'm also very good at sales. I'm great at operations, but when it comes to the 3, the one I care about the most is marketing. It's my favorite. So I'll be giving you the best of what I've learned over the last few years on Wednesday, and I'm very excited about it. So let's open our minds to questions, Q&A. I will stick around for a little bit. If you also want to ask questions to Brian about his book, he is on the call as well. So first to unmute wins, and I'm just going to call on Dorina and Gary and Mitch. Okay, go ahead, Liz.
Sorry. Could you view your broker as your competition?
It depends on what your broker does and what you do. But
So
many brokers do compete with their agents. That is a true fact. Yes.
okay.
So it is an unfortunate business. So when I was running my brokerage, I was a non-competing broker. So I did not work any of the leads. I brought the leads in, I passed the leads to my agents. I never went on appointments. So that made me a non-competing broker. But many brokers go and do their own business and then their agents do theirs. Go ahead, Michael. Michael Shine.
Yes, sorry. I feel like if your broker competes with you, you might want to look for a different broker. There's plenty of them out there, and there are some, like Walter had an amazing opportunity with Tom Caffarella, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So
Tom
there
never
are,
wanted to go on appointments.
yeah. So there's plenty of them out there, and there's some that'll do an awful lot for their agents. And I've seen that in the closing world. Yeah.
Let's give Mike Shine and Liz a round of applause. Very great question. Very good answer. It is true that your broker shouldn't compete with you. You want a broker who's a great marketer. That's what I've always looked for as a broker who's a great marketer. My brokers used to send me on appointments. They'd send me on appointments. They'd give me deals. They'd give me listings, give me opportunities. And so that's what I model, and that's what I aimed to do for my clients as well. I always looked at my agents as clients, right? My agents were my clients. If I get them out there making money, I was going to make money.
If you are competing with your broker, go win the deal. Put the broker in the back seat, okay? They're not in charge, right? And they're very busy people. They have a very difficult time keeping up with, if they're doing the right job, then they're having a very difficult time keeping up with that kind of business. They probably only do it part-time if they're able to at all.
And that's the other side of it, Lisa, right? I had an agent who trained me. He was my mentor, and he's like, "Hey," I was like, "So like, should I be calling all these listings, like these expired listings? So what if you're calling all these expired listings?" He said, "Get there before I do."
Right. Yep.
And that
And
was his
my broker
philosophy.
called me last night. She got a lead on a listing she had and she wanted to give it to me. So, it can work both ways. It's how you work it, not
Absolutely.
how they work it. You're in charge.
It's your economy, it's your microeconomy. How do you want to create it? If you see the world is sending you leads in abundance, then it is. Awesome. Let's give Lisa Doherty a round of applause. Go ahead, Thurban. And then Gary and
Yeah,
Dorina.
yeah. So for those people who aren't competing with other people and are like, let's say they're very creative, right? And they like making things that no one else has done before. What do you say to those people? Do you still tell them to go model other successful people, or what do you tell them?
I tell them the same thing I told each of you today was find out what you're weakest in and model somebody who's better at it. It doesn't have to be in your same industry. Just model somebody who's better at the thing you're weakest in. I don't like looking at my immediate competition very much unless their customer service is better than mine. I really only ever look at my true core competition when I'm looking on the production operations side. If their servicing customers better than me, you had better believe I'm going to fucking change something. Like I'm going to improve something to make sure that my clients are coming through and seeing a much better process. But so that's the only real competition I'll take at the local level. But when it comes to sales and marketing, I usually go outside. I'm looking for bigger fish. There's nobody in my market big enough for me to model. So I just go outside of my market to find somebody bigger who I can scale up. Um, does that help?
Absolutely. Thank
Awesome.
you.
You're welcome. Let's give Thurman a round of applause. Great question. Gary, go ahead before we go to Gio and Tashin.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say, the Budweiser example is really, really eye-opening. And I think that we should all be thinking that way because it's not exactly about who exactly you're competing with other things exactly in your industry, but a lot of times it's who are you competing with as far as just eyes on your service. And so the amount of that type of you say that you can attract, the more you can attract just eyes on your service, is the big thing. And so, and that's why you see Budweiser, they advertise at sports things, but they also advertise at other events and other different things around, so because they're not just competing with other beers, they're competing with other food services and other things like that. So in our industry, though, what type of things do you suggest that we open our minds up to and open our thoughts up to that's our actual competition? Is it just because we are real estate investors or just because we're entrepreneurs? How far outside of what we're doing do we look for that as far as models that what we can model and things?
Oh, that's really good. Let's give Gary a round of applause for framing that question so eloquently and pointing out one of my favorite components to marketing in general is I don't like to compete too close locally. But when you look for who you can model and who's really doing it as real estate investors, like what do we really want? Right? As real estate investors, we just want somebody to sell us their house and maybe sell or finance it too, right? Like, can we get both at one shot? Can I get them to sell me the house and carry the note so I don't have to go raise capital, so I don't have to go to the bank, so I have to do all the other stuff? Show fans if that would be the ideal customer. The ideal customer just like comes with the house that says, finance, here, I'll carry the note. So who are we competing with? We're competing with people who run events like spaghetti meetups and bingo nights, and we're competing with financial planners who run tax seminars and webinars on tax preparation, or who sell IRA information, or who sell like medical equipment. We're talking about the office, the hospital that is selling the next prescription, the pharmacy who's selling the next prescription. Those are the people who we're competing with. So think about this person as a 65-year-old, 75-year-old person who is getting bombarded constantly by medical concerns, constantly bombarded by the person who's trying to cut their grass in the front yard, the landscaper who wants to cut their grass because their grass is 10 feet tall, and the neighborhood who's telling them they need to fix that, the city who's telling them they need to fix their yard or their house. So we have all of these other people who are already getting in front of their faces. How do we get that same level of attention? How do we get in front of them? That's why mailers are so effective. That is why door knocking is so effective. That is why cold calling is so effective. And that is one of the reasons that social media to their children is so effective, because who has their attention the most? It's their kids. Who has the most persuasion over them? It's their children. It's their 50-year-old children, their 40-year-old children. That's who really can persuade them, which is why when I talk about social media for investors, I talk about talking about their parents, right? On social media, talking about your parents, talking about people's parents on social media, because those 50 and 60-year-old, 40 and 50-year-old children, the X generation, Generation X, their parents are the baby boomers. And they have the most influence over their parents out of all the other things that are coming into their world, the doctors and the medical industry and the pharmacy and all the neighbors. It ends up being their children who influence them the best. So if you can get and serve their children, if you can get in front of their children, if you can change the narrative that their children are communicating with their parents, then you have a very good chance at being the one that they do business with. So sounding like, being like, and treating them as if you were a friend of their children's or their children themselves. Does this make sense? You're competing with their family, right? Because it's their family's opinions. It's also their attorney, right? Their attorney or their financial planner. Gary just saved the deal this week because he had to call up a financial planner and explain why the deal made a lot of sense. So you're competing with their advisory board, which many times is their children. They have the biggest weight, by the way. You could have a person go talk to their tax accountant or their attorney or their financial planner, and then talk to their children and still not do what the professional advisor said to do, and still just do what their children said to do. Show fans if you know families like this. Yeah, because their kids come first. Awesome. Let's give Gary a round of applause. Great question. Love that question. Go ahead, Gio, and then Darina.
Hey, so a couple of things. I think I've changed my way of thinking. I think everything's from abundance. If we have the lack of, and we act like that, it makes it really harder. So with that said, I've learned with my experience that real estate is people business, not really real estate business. So all four of us or 30 of us, whatever number here, we could be attacking the same type of owner, but you know what? It's how we bond. It's our vibration if we match. I've had it where my particular offer was $25,000 less, but they liked me versus somebody else was paying them more. So, so I think the first thing we need to do is always the mindset. Just make sure that we're living in abundance. There's enough business for everybody. And if it doesn't work, and try to stop making the deal work. If it's not, walk away. There's other deals always there. Tomorrow's another day. So that's the one thing. Second thing is competition with in regards to with brokers. I've helped manage back in my days a real estate broker. So the problem is this, and I'll be honest, I'll be direct. Some people suck. You give them the actual appointment, and they can't close. So this is why sometimes a lot of brokers are your competition, because they are spending the money to bring in that particular lead. And if you can't convert them, they might as well then be your quote, quote, your competition. So if you're able to go ahead and demonstrate to the broker that you can close a good amount of percentage, and if you can, you have a good follow-up, then eventually you're going to be able to go ahead and close it. Then now you're telling the broker, hey, pick me, I can close it. So now it has to be a win-win situation. At this point now, it's not fair for the broker to be spending all this money in it and then give it to you. But if you can't close it, well, hell, give it to me. I'm spending my own money. You spend your own money and you waste it. So, there's always two sides to each side. So just think about that. I personally agree with, not to compete with a broker, but what are you bringing to the table as well too? So if you don't know how to close it, then educate yourself. I can tell you one thing, marketing, there's a lot as an entrepreneur and as an actual investor for many years. I've seen a lot of we buy houses, all this other stuff, and people don't pick up the phone. People don't call back. So yeah, your marketing might be like awesome, but if you don't do what needs to be done, the necessary steps, then what are you even doing marketing for? And I agree with you, Walter. I personally like to do mailers, and I've also changed a little bit of also with phones. I kind of mix and match. So that's just my 2 cents.
Let's give Gio a round of applause. He's done a lot of wholesaling over the years, done a lot of transactions. I met him out in Daytona. And no, I met him in Daytona. Then I saw him again. I met him in Jacksonville. Then I saw him again in Daytona 2 weeks later. So I've had a lot of fun with this tour. Go ahead, Tashin, and then Darina.
So I wanted to jump on. Me and Darina were chatting yesterday about a couple of things. One, I want to thank everybody for their time. Thank Alchemist Nation for everything that they've done. And secretly how you guys have been helping me to change not only my life, but changing other people's lives and starting with the mentality. I've heard a lot about the word competition on this call. For me, I really don't see competition anymore. No matter what you're doing and what industry you're in, there's some way for us to be able to collaborate. So therefore, now my thing is, how do I destroy the mentality of competition and invite the mentality of collaboration? And I've realized that just being able to connect with so many higher level people like yourself, prior, it was like, who wants to do a deal with the guy that's never done a deal, that has no experience, that has no money, that can't even pay their monthly bills, to the transition of who has money, that needs a deal, that wants to close a deal, that's looking for somebody to bring them a deal because they don't have the time to go out and find the deal. So when we're talking about the brokers and we're talking about the competition, what I would say is, what are you doing to make yourself a niche, to understand that you get the mindset, the skill set, the tool set, and then turn yourself into the asset? So don't chase the assets, become the asset, and allow that asset to then attract other assets to you. So, that's a lot of the things that I've been seeing. And on the weakest point, I definitely ordered your book. So thank you for promoting your book. I ordered that immediately because it's definitely what I need. I have struggled a lot from, a lot of the things that you were saying, Walter, with your own personal, life, and trying to figure out, throwing spaghetti noodles at the wall, as I call it, until one of them sticks. Right now, me and Gary were talking. I have a very lucrative business for me right now that says bringing in clients and looking at within the next 30 days, bringing in about 30,000 just in deals that I'm waiting to close. Um, by helping homeowners actually keep their property instead of being foreclosed on. But I've realized that it's actually harder to be successful than it is to be broke, and identifying what systems you need in place, what employees you need in place. So that's kind of where I am now, is trying to figure out, what systems to put in place, how to manage those customer interactions and everything that this call was about today.
Give Tashin a big round of applause. Acknowledging where you're at and where you're going and where you want to be is fantastic. It helps to know where you're at. Go ahead, Michael. And then Dorina.
I totally agree with Tashin, especially about the creative universe versus a competitive universe. And I find in my business, there's a lot of closing attorneys right here in Rhode Island, right near where I am. And I often catch myself looking at those people as competition, and I do a little exercise with myself. As soon as I hear myself thinking that, I immediately work on switching it and being happy for that other person. Because if closing attorneys all around me are closing deals, well, that means there's plenty of deals out there, and they're never taking my deals. I mean, literally, not just universe, they're never taking my deals. I have my own relationships, and it just means that the market is doing great. So practice that whenever you see someone and maybe you get envious. As a realtor, as a business person, to switch it right away and just look at the creative universe. And just as an addition, I put it in the chat. Definitely read The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. That talks about that too. Yep.
Give Michael Shine a big round of applause. So helpful to, and then Doug dropped in the chat, the Huna philosophy, bless that which you want, which I also learned from T. Harv Eker in his book, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. This, even with Alchemist Nation, when I look at filling events, I don't look at my direct competition as the RIAs or the business groups. I look at my competition as that nightclub that can fill their room with 200, 400 people every single Saturday night, every single Thursday night, every single Friday night. I'm looking at the groups that could just fill their rooms with a bunch of happy people. And I'm thinking, wow, man, like, how do I fill my rooms with 200, 400 people every single night so that I can get them buying real estate, so I can get them building their business, so I can get them financially free? Like, that's who I compete with. And whenever I go into those places, I'm just like, damn, like they're doing something right. Like, what is it that all of these young people want? Like, they want, attention. They want somebody to know about them. They want to have fun with their friends. Like, it's like, okay, how do I incorporate that? And then how do I give them the epiphany bridge that they don't have to go to work tomorrow? They could go and buy real estate or build their business or scale up. They don't have to pay all the taxes they've been paying. They can build this company, community. They can build this nation up and make America, it's still the best nation in the world, in my opinion, but how do we scale up and improve and make the rest of the world as abundant as we've become as a nation? And thank you, Mike, for the reminder that, when I see other events and other people doing well, and I'm the worst when I go to a concert and I see like 40,000 people in the room. I'm like, man, okay, how did Rammstein do this? How did they get all these people into this room? Do I need to have fire at my events? If that's the case, I'll call the fire department right now. Get this thing going. Go ahead, Dorina. And then Mitch.
Yeah, it was very powerful today. And I want to point out that we a little bit stuck on the word competition, and it's not even a part of the principle. The principle is to study businesses that are doing very well and study their practices, systems in place that you could apply to your business to help more people to add more value. And of course, I want to bring it up that, we had Bob Berg on Thursday, and we talked about Go Giver book. We talked about his principle of life. And in the Go Giver book, he talks about the 5 laws of stratospheric success. And the first one is the law of value. And in that example in the book, he actually, the character named Joe, he calls and gives the business to a competitor, right? Because a competitor at that stage could give more value to the customer and can help the, the client, whoever. So it's not about like really competing. It's just learning like what they do that you can apply for your business. Like Dashin is learning from the best. Like actually, great to have you back, Dashin. I know you've been grinding and hustling like crazy. And it's again, I just want to point out we don't want to be stuck on that word. It's about learning from other businesses and sending them blessings like Mike Shine is talking about, versus, oh, how can I do better than them? No, maybe they always might be doing better than you do. So be the smaller fish and learn and apply. That's kind of the principle, because if you're practicing go-giver mentality, go-giver attitude, then you don't see them as your enemy or as your competitor. You see them as a partner, you see them as a teacher, and just take the best and see if there is a way to collaborate.
Give Dorina a big round of applause. It's very, very true. I did not say, well, this principle is not about competition. This is about improving your business to make it better than the businesses that are already doing what you want to do better. But as a marketer, I am thinking next time I should say the word competition a lot in my advertisements leading up to it, because clearly that's what's on people's minds. I love it. If any key word, like, you want to learn how to beat the competition, I'm going to show you how to study the competition. All right, let's give everybody who's jumping off a big round of applause. I'll stick around for another few minutes, but I've got to drop all of the things. So you have an idea of what I'm going to be doing this weekend with Dorina is taking everything that I have learned from the last 200 conversations I've had over the last 90 days. We're going to look at all the mind maps that I've done with you, and we're going to review where you're at and what your wants and desires have been. So every single person I've had a one-on-one with in the last 3 months, I'm going to go and review one by one with Dorina. That's 300 lines of conversations that I have to review and identify what has been missing, what has been missing in your lives, what your challenges are, what your goals are, what your aspirations are, what your concerns are. And we're going to be aiming to create a more inclusive coaching program with a few webinars that are going to either get you what you're looking for, or if I find out that you just want people to do things for you, then I'm going to go and try to find the people who do those things. Does that make sense? So I'll be literally implementing this wealth principle and many of the other wealth principles over the next. Dorina says it's going to take us 4 hours, so I'm hoping it's only 4 hours that we have to spend on this. But if it is all rest of the day, then I will do whatever it takes because she will hold me accountable to get it done. But this is the same thing I suggest you do in your business. And look, I'm the CEO of the company. I'm the founder. I'm doing all the traveling. I'm speaking. I'm doing a lot of work. And yet this is what I choose to do. This is the most important thing in the company, is to have the one-on-one conversations with the customer, ask all the questions, find out what they need, and then go back to the drawing board, put all the details together. And I'll go back to the team and I'll sit with the directors and find out what it is that we can do, what we can sell that's in alignment with the mission, so that each of you can actually get to that next level. And if it's something that we have already, we're going to bring it back. If it's something we don't have, then we're going to find somebody who does have it. And if we can't find somebody who does have it, then we will fucking build it. But that is last resort for everything. We always want to move you guys as fast as possible without having to build anything. If there's somebody else who has it, I'm very much in that mindset of abundance. I'll ask for a referral fee. I'll get an affiliate link. I'll do something, but I want to make sure that you guys get there as fast as we possibly can. So I ask you do this in your business as well. Don't build everything. Don't start 3 companies, 4 companies. Don't try to bring everything in-house. Fuck in-house. Fuck vertical integration. Outsource as much as you can to prove that it fucking works. And then one day, 3, 4 years from now, maybe if it benefits your customers and helps you drop your prices, cool, vertically integrate. But too many of you are trying to build 3, 4 companies because you think you can service your customer better, instead of operating like a bullet and serving a lot of people with one thing You're creating a parachute that slows you down to serve less people with a lot of things. Show fans, if you're familiar, people do this all the time. And that's one of the things I've heard on the calls I've been doing over the last 90 days is people trying to grab everybody's pie instead of just sticking in the kitchen and making your own pie. Just build your customers, take care of your customers. Like Mike said earlier, I love that.
Sounds like you're talking about our first ever conversation, Walter.
Sheen, I've had this conversation with every entrepreneur I have ever spoken with. It's part of the entrepreneurial seizure where it's like, I can do this. Well, what's to stop you, right? You're going to want to do this. You're going to want to do this. You're going to want to do this. But great business owners, they do one thing, they service their customer in one way, and they service more customers. And they service more customers at a higher level doing that one thing. So real estate investors do bigger houses. Multifamily guys do bigger multifamilies. They do bigger multifamilies. We just keep getting bigger. We don't try to do property management and then real estate agency and then landscaping and then contract. Like some people do, right? But they don't ever get to the size that BlackRock has, right? BlackRock only does one thing. Right. BlackRock, by the way, is not really a real estate investment company. They're a lending company. That's all they do. They raise capital. They're a capital raising company. They just put the money to work. They let other people run those operations. Then they're vertically integrated eventually. So fans, if you understand, you can get there too, but you got to do one thing. And that's dropped that one thing is to raise capital. Awesome. Any other questions? So fans, today was valuable. You got a lot out of it. Look, we had over 100 people at the call. Go ahead, Dana.
You want to give the rap quote for
Mitch
me?
Dorsey, rap quote.
You know what, Walter? I'm going to disappoint you because I'm not going to give a rap quote because I'm going to do something better. I'm going to give you something better. And you just talked about manifesting essentially all these things, right? So on the pregame call, we talked about it. We didn't get into it. So works out for everybody else because now they get to hear some pro tips that they normally wouldn't get to hear. And we talk about manifesting all the time, you, me, and Mike. And, you know, I feel like Mike's the master at manifesting. And I think there's different methods that work for different people, right? So the just picturing that it already exists and feeling those emotions and blah, 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 blah. Like I do it, but it just doesn't seem to always connect, you know, well for me. And like, well, maybe there's a different method, right? It's no different than any other thing. Like anyone that's met me in person knows that I've been playing basketball my whole life, right? Like my best way for being good at basketball isn't focusing on dunking the basketball. It's focusing on shooting the basketball. I'm a slow white guy. I'm not going to be dunking on anybody, right? So what's my best method? And I stumbled across something. I don't even know what to call it. I'm going to call it the best friend method. So this resonates with me because I'm that type of person. Like I share everything with my friends. I get excited, you know, and this could be even your significant other. But instead of trying to like, you know, manifest like, all right, this exists. I am this person. I'm feeling the emotions. Like I have the things. Instead, like it's an actual actionable moment in that, all right, what would I do when this happens? Well, I'd probably call my significant other or my best friend and be like, bro, I just landed this deal, blah, 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 blah. So literally that's the method that I'm using going forward. So whatever it is I'm trying to manifest, I'm going to have that moment where basically it happens and I reach out to someone like you or Mike Shine or, you know, someone that's close to me that, you know, I share wins with and essentially have that conversation in my mind, feel, because then I'll feel those emotions, right? That's for me what kicks off feeling those emotions, right? So I'm just going to call it the best friend method. And this going forward is how I'm going to manifest things and actually really feel that emotion because you've got to feel the emotion when you're pitching these things that already are what you want. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Give Mitch Dorsey a round of applause.
I was the only one doing that. So I'm glad that we can now capitalize on the best friend method.
Right.
So next week's wealth principle is wealth principle 27, steadiness of your faith. And so we will actually be working on how do you see that vision more firmly, even in times where it doesn't seem so clear. A lot of our principles are very tactical. Like today is a very tactical principle. This principle going forward is more about mindset than I usually like to get into. I try to avoid the mindset ones too heavily because a lot of people, they just don't show up to things that are mindset based. But since you are the hardcore 50 who are still here, Next week, I'll tell you it's steadiness of your faith. And if you can't hold your mind, your frame in times that are tough, because that's where the opportunities are. Remember, when there's blood in the streets, that's where we get rich. If you can't hold your frame in those tight negotiations, you will fucking fail. And so, steadiness of your faith that it is possible in the moments where it seems least possible is where the deals are done. The deals that will change your life. Being strong in average deals is just going to keep you an average person. Being strong and steadfast in that you're capable of delivering when times are tough, that's where big money is made. Big money is made when everybody's suffering, when you're suffering, when everybody's weak, and you still have the guts to go out and do the thing that you trained to do. That steadfastness of faith is the most powerful asset you can have in Alchemist Nation, the ability to keep going forward, to keep doing the things. So we're going to go over that. It's Wealth Principle 27, Steadfastness of Faith. If you want the book of the week, it is The Wealthy Gardener by John Saforic. It is one of Michael Shine's favorite books. He will not be skipping that wealth principle. He will 100% own giving the book of the week next week. And if you would like to see how I visualize, very similar to Mitch Jorsky, I like to think of myself as maybe not a very emotional person. I'm a very tactical person, very mindset. Mindset I found to be very woo-woo for me. I found it to be hard. So it took me a long time to get rich. And then once I figured out how to connect my logical brain to emotions, it became a lot easier. So I'm spreadsheet based, and some of you may be spreadsheet based as well, or fact based as well. So I need facts to prove that my wealth is coming, or that the thing I want to build is coming. So I'm going to share my screen very quickly and show you how I see Alchemist Nation growing. I look at the events that we have. Now, this may seem confusing, so let me shift over to our check-ins. I look at the amount of people who've checked in at our events all across the country. Here are the states and cities that we have operating. And then down at the bottom, I look and I see, okay, January we had 216 souls come into our events. In February, we had 330 souls walk through our door. In March, we had 362 souls. In April, we still have a couple of events that haven't submitted their numbers, and we are probably going to break 400 people who walked through our doors. Now, I know we had 13 events run in January, 17 in February, 19 in March. I know we ran 19 in April as well, so I'm going to get those numbers in. So I see a trajectory of success, but that's not quite enough for me to manifest. So what I did is I built a local spreadsheet that shows me all of the major cities that Alchemist Nation is going to attain, because this is what I can look at. And this is what I can say, wow, Arizona, we're going to be in Glensdale, we're going to be in Scottsdale, we're going to be in Tempe. And here are the population numbers of those cities. So I assume less than 1%, a fraction of 1% will come to our events over time. And so I can actually look at this and I'll visualize, I'll sit there, and every time I see one of these addresses, I know we've got an event in that market. And I'll scroll down this and I just say, okay, we got work to do. There's 323 events at the moment in my brain that I see done that I'm looking for leaders for, so I can generate leads for you, because I'm good at filling the rooms and we're great at teaching people how to fill the rooms. And if you know a business coach or a real estate professional who needs customers, I'm open to helping them build my dream to help more people. So Alchemist Nation, what I'd like to see that number at is 30,000 people a month. That's ultimately my goal, is 30,000 people a month walking through our doors. And I can see it. When we broke that 300, I said, well, that's just 100 times more what we got right now. And as I get closer to 3,000, then I can just say that's just 10x more. So fans, if your past success could also be what proves your future success. That's why I find it very important for salespeople, for entrepreneurs, to track what you've done. Even if you think you're not doing good, get it on paper, get it in a spreadsheet. Prove that you've done something, prove that you've made calls, prove that you've closed somebody, and just keep tracking what's working, tracking what's working. And eventually you'll start looking back and say, holy shit, I've done more than I thought I've done. I've had more impact on souls than I thought I did. 31 millionaires. I don't know anybody who can say they've done it. I don't know anybody else who could say, I know for sure that I built these men and women, that they became millionaires. We track it so that I can have proof of concept. So when we do go after that 200 millionaires, that 1,000 millionaires, that 10,000 millionaires, I have a system that lets me know I'm making progress. So that's my way of manifesting. It makes me feel good. Go ahead, Billy.
What's up, everyone? I'll do my best to make this quick. I know we all have things to do on a Saturday, but I really want to share this with everyone, because this is, I think, going to really serve you guys today and certainly going forward. And it's the whole idea of mindset, right? The word mindset comes up a ton, like a lot. And I think it's going to serve us if we reframe what that actually means. Mindset is not about positivity. I've been on stages, I've said that, and sometimes what I'm about to share with you can be perceived contrarian. And I don't mean it to be, but I hope this lands. True mindset is not positive, it's prepared. And there is no separation between an effective, or what I call an unbreakable mindset, with actual action and strategy. It's not a separate concept, right? Mindset is not just thinking and writing and feeling and loving and then action something different. Your aligned actions will reaffirm and reestablish and rebuild your mindset through action. The reason most people get stuck on that mindset loop is because they consider it separate, right? Like I meditate every day, I journal every day. We all do powerful affirmations. But a powerful affirmation that is not supported by aligned action will keep you on that loop. It'll keep you looking for the next affirmation, the next book, the next YouTube video. So my invitation to everybody, especially on this call, it's to understand the integration between mindset, your thoughts, your feelings, but also your actions. Integrating those are going to radically transform your life and live an absolutely betterful. Betterful is a new word. You're welcome for that. We'll put that in a dictionary. That'll be in my next book, How to Rewrite the English Language. But anyway, guys, love you so much. I just really wanted to serve you at the highest level. Happy Saturday.
Cheers. Let's give Billy Rido a round of applause. Julio, Hebert, Herbert, Al, Sonia, Tashin, Gary, Michael, Victor, Liz, Lisa, Darina, Michelle, Jamie, Billy, Elizabeth, Mitch, Scott, Justin, Donna, Thurman, thank you for having your cameras on. I love seeing your smiling faces. It is so much fun to see the interactions, the cheering, the smiling, the nodding. If your eyes glazed over, I appreciate that too. It means I fucked up. So thank you for being on with your cameras on so I know where to go and what to do. And if things are hitting you, I can tell because you're raising your hands, you're interacting. It means a lot to me as a speaker, as a trainer, and as somebody who really just wants to continuously improve my own process so that I continuously improve what you're doing out there. So thank you for your feedback. Thank you for filling out our surveys and for jumping on the one-on-one calls with us. Everything that you do to give us feedback to help us serve. We are still in the beta test, right? We've built 31 millionaires. We've coached over 500 people through the community. We've brought 12,000 souls through our contact, through our CRM. And I still look at this as the very, very beginning, even though we're getting really fucking good at what we do. We spent $1.3 million on development, on improving the community, improving the systems you have available, improving the staff that's in place for you. And I think that that's just the tip of the iceberg of what we're going to spend and the investments that we're going to make. So I just thank you for your patience with us as we improve, as we get a lot of entrepreneurs to the next level. And I also thank each one of you for your stories of success, your stories of failure, the lessons you've learned. You are the people we want to put on stages as you develop, as you learn a thing, as you figure something out, as you take down a big deal. Be the person who takes down the biggest deal, or be the person who took down the most deals. Be the person who has the greatest success story, the greatest comeback story. Don't go and fail intentionally, but if you have already failed, fucking be the person who shows the big comeback. If you have never failed, be the person who's never failed and shows a massive business. So I just thank you for that, because at any level that you're playing with us, you're inspiring somebody. Be the person who posts. Share your story on Facebook. Share a story of somebody else on Facebook. But be the person who's delivering and giving at that highest level. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, just to add to what Walter's saying, it's really true. You don't even know who you may influence. I think like 4 years ago, I mentioned the book, The Four Agreements, and there was like no real memorable response I had. But 4 years later, Josh, who's on the call sometimes, came up to me and he said, you mentioned the Four Agreements. I got that book and it absolutely changed my life. So if you ever feel that you have an impulse to say something to someone, even if it's one sentence, that's your inner being telling you to go say that. So you have no idea. I was like, what? I don't even remember saying the Four Agreements to you, Josh. And it changed his life. So if you feel it, say it. Totally agree.
Give Michael Shine a round of applause. It's a great share. As we log off, I will share one last tip with you. It's just something Doreen and I do. If we start talking about somebody, the rule is text them. If we start talking about somebody in our house, we're just like, hey, you know what? Let's just both text them. Hey, we're just talking about you. This is what we said. Like if we start like, and here's the thing, I just don't have anybody in my life that I couldn't do that with, right? So if like somebody's pissed us off, I'll text them that too. But that authenticity of just being able to say, man, we're talking about this person, we should tell them now. It's a rule. It's a rule in our house. Like if we're thinking about them, we should talk about them. If we're talking about them, we should text them. And uh, I'd want you to know that if you get a text from me, it's probably because I was thinking about you. It's probably because I was talking about you. Cheers to your success. We have a choice. Always work with the best. Keep crushing it out there. I'll see you on the next one. Love you guys.